All right, welcome back. We are talking now to Charmaine Moore, who is the Cincinnati Opera's Director of Education. Charmaine, thanks a lot for coming on. And Dione Johnson, who sings the role of Nanita in How Nanita Learned to Make Flan. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Tell us about this opera.
How Nanita Learned to Make Flan is based on a children's book by the same title. It's about a little girl, Nanita, whose father is a shoemaker, and he's too busy to make shoes for her first communion. So you see Nanita's barefoot for most of the show, until she makes shoes of her own that take her on a magical journey. It's really a fantastic story. It's a great story for families.
Dione, how did you sing beautifully. How did you get into this, and how did you end up in Cincinnati?
I've been singing since I was 7. I started in church back at home in Jackson, Tennessee, and then I was in choirs and stuff. And I didn't start singing classical music until my freshman year in college. I attended Middle Tennessee State University, and then from there I came to graduate school at Cincinnati Conservatory of Music.
You know, and talk about Nancy James, who is my co-host here, went to CCM. Talk about the reputation of that. I mean, it's known nationally and internationally for its music.
It is. It is. Its opera department is ranked, the voice department is ranked 3rd in the country. Fabulous teachers, heavy academic school, but it's been a great experience, and I was fortunate to have gotten in.
What are we going to, Charmaine, what are we going to see on this opera? Tell us what we'll see on stage.
On stage, you'll see 4 singers, professional level singers. We call them young artists. They're just about to be on their way, to stardom. And you'll also see our friend Lisa Hassan, who's our accompanist, and she's going to play the orchestra score for this opera. Sets and costumes by David Centers and Reva Sinsky, and it's just very colorful, magical, and you'll leave with your toes tapping. For sure.
All the singers, where do you get the singers? They're all quite young. Are they all students?
They're graduate students, doctoral level students who we found through the audition process. There's an audition process in the fall, and we just hear tons and tons of singers, and these individuals rose to the top.
Is that how you joined the company, or you joined this opera, Dione, trying out?
Yes, sir.
An open audition?
Uh-huh.
What do you want to do after you graduate? Do you want to sing opera? Do you sing other types of music as well?
I do. I don't sing anything else right now, although I am interested in musical theater, so that may be to come. But my goals, I'm going to do a doctorate at the University of Kentucky this fall. I'm going to begin that program, and I do want to perform professionally and also teach.
Are you a fan of Mike Jones?
No.
I got a cat named Mike Jones. My son named it after the hip-hop singer, so inside joke, we were joking off stage. Someone like me, I've been to a couple operas, but what am I going to like about it? How can I understand it? Now, this is in English. A lot of operas are not in English.
That's right. Well,
and there's a story in every opera, too.
And there's a story in every opera. Opera takes the human condition and heightens it to the most emotional and dramatic level. So you have no trouble understanding what's going on in the story. You can tell when someone's happy. You can tell when they're sad. And usually it's a tragedy, but this one happens to be a story with a happy ending.
So it's acting, a little bit of acting, or a lot of acting as well as singing, right?
It is, definitely. Yes.
How long have you prepared for this? How long will you rehearse before you bring this to stage?
We rehearsed for a week together. Everyone got the music in advance, and they learned it, and they were coached and did the staging and all of the rehearsing last week. We've been touring in the tri-state area since Monday.
Okay, where else have you performed?
Oh my gosh, well, we've been all over the place. We were in Glendale yesterday. We went as far out as Ripley, Ohio this week. At the end of the tour, we'll be down in Lexington and Amesville, Ohio, which is out east.
Yeah. Do young people, when I say young people, people your age, Dione, do they relate to opera? Do they like it?
I think the ones that are in this field, of course, they like it, but outsiders, not so much. And I think it's because of the lack of understanding and respect for our art form. So I think there's some more work to be done so that there can be a greater appreciation for the art form.
Let's go back to the story of Nanita. This is bilingual, is that right?
That's right, Spanish and English.
Why is that important? I know you're doing that this year. Why is that important?
Well, the Hispanic community is growing rapidly in our area, and in order to maintain opera's relevance, as Dione was referring to, and introduce opera to new audiences, it's important to present new material. It's really fun, and you'll find that it's kind of like Spanglish. You know, they'll have English at the beginning of the sentence and in the sentence in Spanish. So it's kind of, you'll have to listen to pick up on some of that. We're really excited to present this opera for the second time around as part of Cincinnati Opera's Spanish season.
That's great. Do you speak Spanish at all? Did you have any training in it? Was that difficult
I took
at all?
Spanish in high school, but I didn't continue the studies.
Was it difficult at all?
No, it wasn't difficult. No.
What other operas are coming up this year? What else are you working on?
This summer, for the main stage at Music Hall on Elm Street, we will be performing The Marriage of Figaro, Don Carlo, a new opera completely in Spanish called Aina de Mar, and we'll close the season with Carmen.
All right, and where will this be performed? Tell us again, and how the public can get tickets to this.
How Nanita Learned to Make Flan will be performed this Saturday, May 9th, in Madisonville, as you mentioned before, and May 16th at Memorial Hall. You can get information on our website, www.cincinnatiopera.org. And if you have any other questions, feel free to call our box office at 513-241-ARIA.
Now, Dione, have you performed at Music Hall?
I have performed.
Isn't that just a beautiful building?
It is.
How are the acoustics in there? I've heard that other performers who've been on the show say that it's wonderful to perform there.
Yeah, they're great for singing. Yeah, it made me feel all like professional and
Right.
stuff. It was good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Do you know it's
Yeah.
haunted?
You said what?
Do you know it's haunted? It's supposed to be haunted.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was built on the site of what they used to call insane asylum, and
Oh, wow.
supposedly it's haunted. That's the legend around Cincinnati. So if you see any ghosts there, that's why.
This man's done his history.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I grew up in Cincinnati, so because the opera for years and years was performed at the zoo.
That's right.
Which was very cool. I remember seeing it perform there, or you could hear it when I was a kid. We would go there, and it's the second oldest opera company
In the nation.
in the country.
That's right.
Have you found that in your work, and I think a lot of people, even people like me who've grown up in Cincinnati, that there is an amazing, rich history of the arts, music, opera, the art museum? That we do have a rich history of that here.
We do.
CCM.
All of our institutions are so very well funded and supported by our patrons, and that's always been the case. That's how Cincinnati Opera got started. There was someone who had a vision, and they believe in that vision, and we're so lucky to have such a rich arts community in Cincinnati. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that is great. And you went to SCPA, is that
I
right?
did.
And
Yeah.
we were talking off camera, that MTV, what's the name of that MTV series?
Taking the Stage.
Yeah, that's really cool. My daughter loves it, and she's in college, and they all watch it. And we were saying the same thing. Her friends, she goes to Western Kentucky University, and they all talk about how they want to come to Cincinnati and visit because it does put a good light on the city.
For sure.
All right. Charmaine and Dione, we're going to take a break, and we are going to hear a performance of the opera How Nanita Learned to Make Flan. We'll be right back on Northern Kentucky Magazine.